Hey there, my love. It's me, CP again. And in this video, I am going to teach you the basics of building your business credit. You heard me. Business credit is critical to your success as an entrepreneur. And while you may have a pretty good understanding of your personal credit and what it takes in order to have a good credit score, or you may not. Your business credit is a whole different ballgame, but it is so important for you to understand how it works and how you can build it and improve upon it. But I have a very special guest today because I have gone through so many different aspects of understanding and building and utilizing my business credit that I thought it was important for me to bring in an expert. So I am going to do an interview today to teach you and break down for you all the basics of what you need to do in order to start building good business credit and how you can get some tips and tools in order to do just that. And I'm bringing in this expert who not only specializes in business credit, but also how to repair your personal credit so that you can get your business journey off on the right foot. So if that sounds good to you, then keep on watching because I'm going to head on over to my computer and we are about to get to work. All right, welcome CPTV family to the CP Online studio. As I mentioned, I'm very excited to dive into today's topic. We're going to get right into it. And I'm going to introduce our guest, Joanne Montgomery. Joanne has been a small business owner for almost 3 decades now, and her biggest endeavor being her nail salon boutique, Gilmore's, that she opened in 1993. Joanne understands what it's like to wear all of the hats of an entrepreneur, and her business consulting firm, where she provides business credit and personal credit repair services, has been another huge success in the long line of successes that she's had during her entrepreneurial journey. Joanne's goal is to bring other entrepreneurs up to standards and helping them find the funds to progress in their entrepreneurial journey, because we all know capital is a problem. So welcome very much to the CPTV studios, Joanne. How are you doing today?
I am good. I am good.
Good. I'm so excited to have you here and to talk about this topic. I get so many questions about this topic. I get so much input and feedback and just the general stuff. So I really want to dive into some basics and you providing the audience with some good tips, some good tools, and any step-by-step process stuff that you could provide, because you know I love a step-by-step that we can give them to help them begin to at least make sure that their business is set up so they can begin that journey towards business credit. And then also talking about some of the benefits and the factors and the different ways that business credit is established and stuff like that. And no other expert could I think of than you to bring in. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Let's start with just from your experience, right? Your experience as an entrepreneur and establishing your business credit and being able to, because obviously with your boutique, I am sure that business capital was absolutely critical to establishing it. And you've got inventory, you've got things that you've got to order in advance, you've got all kinds of stuff going on. So talk a little bit about what your journey looked like towards having business credit so that you could get some of your multiple businesses established.
Well, the biggest thing that I ran into is you walk into the bank and you think because your credit's good, you can go ahead and apply. What I found is they will tell you no, but they don't explain why. So if you're going to decline me, then tell me why. Because you think, okay, I have a 700 credit score, I can get this. What the word is, if you have a 700 score, you can get anything. That's not true. There's a lot of factors. Is how many inquiries do you have on your credit report? How old is your credit? What type of credit?
Right.
Do you have credit cards? Do you have loans? Do you have lines? Credit cards is huge for people because if your utilization's high, your score takes a dump.
Mm-hmm.
50 or 100 points. If you're late, that's another 50 or 100 points. So when I kept getting declined and someone saying no, but not telling me how do I fix it, I start asking people, but a lot of people don't share that information with you. So you go here, you get that, you kind of piece it together. And that's how I was able to figure it out. A lot of mistakes though. I mean, I think we all make mistakes, the wrong credit card, the wrong interest, all that kind of stuff. But I was able to finally figure it out. But your personal credit being strong allows you to grow your business. If it's not strong, you can't do it. So that's kind of how I maneuvered. Cause like you said, inventory was huge because companies have you pay for stuff and you haven't even received it yet.
Right.
or you
nor have you sold it, right?
yeah, you got to sell it.
Sold it,
Sell it to the payment. You know,
right.
so that's a whole, but that's when you want to have plenty of credit. So when things do go up and down, you can still be successful and you're not feeling that impact. But you got to have enough. You can have too little and fail. You still got to have enough. And people are always looking for finances.
Yes, they are. I mean, especially entrepreneurs. One of the biggest fears that I hear from my audience and from my CPTVers out there is that they really don't know, if and how to afford their business ideas. And as you know, I mean, some businesses are more profitable than others, and they require less capital, and some businesses require a lot of capitals. I've got some students who are starting, real estate investment companies and flipping companies and product-based companies. And so they will have a different need for capital than, a consultant, might need, who is really just trying to make sure that they can, provide that intellectual property. So, your journey doesn't sound very different than mine. I mean, I had no real true understanding that there was a difference between the two. I mean, my very first business, I remember thinking, well, I just need to get a credit card. And if I got a credit card, then I can use it for my business. And I mean, and technically you can, but I didn't understand the impact that had until, I was really like, I think buying my second house, because I started my business when I had my first house and I sold it, and it wasn't like a big deal, because when I bought my first house, I had that amazing W-2 that that W-2 that everybody thinks is so amazing, but it did make the home buying process easier. But in between my first home to my second home, when I was completely self-employed, is when it really started to resonate with me. Girl, you need to, your business this month might be functioning at a high credit utilization, but it's a personal credit card, so it's reflecting there. And that's when I really started to kind of educate myself on the opportunities that also existed for me in establishing business credit. So let's get into some of these steps, because I really want everybody to understand what it really takes, right, in order for you to begin to build your business credit. And as you mentioned already, it's got to start with a good personal credit, because you're going to probably have to personal guarantee a lot of stuff. But from a business perspective, what do you have to do in order, and what are the steps that you really have to do, kind of in order, because I'm a step-by-step kind of girl, in order to be able to build that business credit? What are the things that, if you're just starting a business, and even if you and I know that you may not be able to get a true business credit card, for a minute, what does somebody who's starting their business need to make sure that they're doing in order to get to that point where they are starting to build a business credit score?
Okay. I would suggest getting a good CPA. If you have a good CPA, he can actually formulate your business, meaning your LLC or your corporation. He's going to register with the IRS, your EIN number. He's going to set you up with the Secretary of State. He's going to get your articles. If it's done properly, I don't have it in front of me, but there's a binder he's going to deliver all those documents in. That's the beginning of being compliant.
So that's the first step, being compliant. And you guys know she already referred to some of those steps to setting up your business structure. I'm going to go ahead and link to our video right here that talks about, well, that's actually a whole playlist that I have that talks about how to get your tax ID and how to set up your business, register it with your LLC, register your LLC, get your operating agreement together, all of those types of things. But in essence, what she just said was that first step is that your business has to be legit. Right. And I just did a video on why you need to make your business legit. And in that video, I said, look, the longer you stand off on making your business legit and you just doing this kind of business without it being official, the longer you're making your process to actually establish your business credit. So yes, that first one is to be compliant. All right, perfect. What's the next step?
Let me just say this one thing. For some reason, people think if they get an EIN number only, that is the setup. That's not true. The second part of that, they think EIN only for credit. That's not true.
No.
Again, that unfortunately, that myth is just concrete out there and it's not true. But if you do all that and you're compliant and you got a good CPA, that's the stepping stone. The next thing is if you're in a city or county, you need a vendor's license. You need to have that. along with the tax papers. A lot of people don't realize that they're out selling stuff, and they don't realize the vendor's license is how you report your sales tax.
And that's specifically for product-based businesses, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So that could be e-commerce, because
right, e-commerce.
It could be brick and mortar,
Mm-hmm.
but you need to have that. But even another twist to that is you have some places you cannot buy from unless you have a vendor's license.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even buy the wholesale price. So that's the other thing, or being tax exempt. So there's a lot of reasons why you want to have that as well.
And now I want to make sure that I clarify, because the audience that we have could be coaches or consultants or information products or speakers, and that vendor's license really applies if you are selling a tangible good in any form or fashion. So that's what she's saying. Don't forget that vendor's license piece is a part of your compliance requirement if you are e-commerce or product-based business, or you're doing a brick and mortar, or you've got a store or something like that. Okay.
Yep. So that's the one step. So once you have that, if you're going to go into applying, I personally do not suggest 30-day accounts.
Oh, okay. This is definitely a different spin. All right.
I don't suggest that at all. So I actually went to my CPA, did everything I told you I just did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a brand new company in January. So I'm here in Ohio. So I walked into Huntington National Bank and applied. They gave me money.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Okay.
So that's a whole twist from what I've been told. I'm always learning something new, because what we're talking about today, 24 hours later could be different. It's just
right.
It just changes. But they gave me a loan, and they gave me a credit card.
Nice. Okay. So because that's the first step. You know, obviously you gotta make sure that you've got your Duns and Bradstreet number and all that kind of good stuff as well. But what you're saying is, and most people say, in order to kind of get started, you want to get your net 30 accounts. Those are the easiest ones to get. You know, order some stuff on there every single month, pay it. And then, you know, after 6 months of doing that, and you got to have at least 3 of those in order for your credit, you know, because of the reporting agencies and how they work for business is a little different than with personal. But so you're saying that you didn't have to do the net 30. So you just walked in, and now what did they require of you?
Nothing. I had everything, but really being in Ohio, Huntington's in Ohio, what's nice about a lot of banks, they can look up your information, meaning they can sign on to the Secretary of State and actually pull that. I do bank with them, but I'm just saying they were able to pull that. I also did US Bank. Again, yeah, remember there's no net 30 out there. There's nothing. It's like a transparent, and they said yes. I did PNC, they said yes. So again, and they're decent cards, but to me, that's a bigger start than someone saying, here's $1,000 or $500, and you're toiling away for 6 months just trying to get some credit established.
Right. So do you have relationships with those banks? Could that relationship have
I had no relationship with US
said?
Bank at all. No relationship with US Bank. PNC, I sort of have a relationship, but not like that. I do have one with Huntington. I think relationships can play a role, but you still got to be compliant. You still got to have certain things. But I'm saying this EIN number and that's registered, the whole thing is brand new. It was like 3 or 4 months old. But here's even a twist. So US Bank, no relationship. I decided to do something, and they did a loan. I won't disclose the amount, but it was a crazy amount. So again, but I had nothing on this profile.
So what do you think if someone tries to do that and it doesn't happen? Because I definitely have gotten feedback where, you know, my audience and startup entrepreneurs have tried to just go in and get it, and they won't let them do it without a personal guarantee. They won't let them do it. They tell them to go. They want to see financials. They want to see, you know, P&Ls. They want to see projections, you know, all those kinds of things before they can even get business cards. So let's just say that situation doesn't happen for someone, right? And they can't just walk in and get it. What do they need to do? I mean, I know we talked about becoming compliant, and do you agree with the second step of ultimately being make sure that you've got your Duns and Bradstreet number?
They didn't ask, none of them asked me for a Duns number.
Okay.
None of them asked me for that. One thing I do think, they look at your personal credit and see how you maneuver your credit. Even though it's under the business, and actually I'm separate now, I'm not PGing it, but I think if you have that, I think there's a look there. And if that's there, I believe that connects to make that happen. That's just my personal opinion, but you are right, but they didn't ask me for any financials.
Okay. So you feel like in that situation, having strong personal credit makes it even easier. So
Yes.
if someone doesn't have strong personal credit and they want to get their business credit established, then your recommendation, it sounds like to me, is to get your personal credit together.
Yeah, well, that, and here's the other thing, a lot of people don't know. You can work on your personal credit and just work on one bureau. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be completely clear. So if one bureau is strong, you work with that and keep building. But if you can kind of saddle between both and that Experian is very strong, then you make sure where you're applying it. If they're pulling Experian as well, that's your stepping stone to start building your business credit.
Okay.
It
So
doesn't
that's
take, it doesn't take a long time. It really, I think that myth needs to be put to bed. Yeah.
So I mean, I love that. I love that little hack that you said. Look, and so if someone wants to capitalize off of that. Like for instance, I know for myself, I've got business credit cards. I've never had to take out like a full-fledged business loan, although I've been approved for them. I prefer the line of credit avenue, just because loans scare the crap out of me, and lines of credit, it's if I'm not using it, I don't want to pay for it.
Right.
Some people get business loans for just in case,
Right.
right? And then it sits, and then they're paying interest on this money that's just sitting there. So they're literally paying this loan back with the loan money just in case. So that's why I prefer kind of a line of credit, because get
Right.
approved for it. It's sitting over there. If I need to use you, I can. If I don't, I'm not paying for it. But I do understand that if you're a real estate investor or something like that, you're going to ultimately need to get a loan in order to be able to buy that home, right? In order to get your first property and things like that. So if that's the case, what do you see as some of the benefits, right, of having good business credit? What are some things that entrepreneurs can get out of having good business credit and working towards that goal of having it established and having the business credit?
Two things. One is, if you're family oriented, obviously, if your family's in the business or you're leaving the business to the family, that solid foundation is going to help them maneuver for whatever they're trying to do to grow the business. I think it's good for investing, any type of expansion. There's a lot of people that are successful that are in a lot of things. So even though this is one core, you'd be amazed how many other things are outside that core that they're involved in. And that allows you. But I will go back to one thing you said about the loan. What I've also was come out of our comfort zone. That may be what we have a passion for, but sometimes we can invest in something and sustain that debt and pay it. So now you're building the credit, you're making money, but you have that loan. What is that? I mean, I don't have a suggestion off the top of my head, but there's a lot of creative stuff out there you can do. That's another way of building, because under the business credit, you want a loan, like you said, or a line or a credit card. That whole mix is what a lot of lenders look for. They want to see that you know how to handle debt. The more debt you can handle, they'll just keep giving you money, which is ultimately what we want to see. Yeah.
But so if somebody doesn't have good personal credit and they're working on it, but they definitely need to start working to build their business credit at the same time, right? So they want to start doing both at the same time, and they want to make sure that they at least have a DMB presence, because they're going to be looking at that. I know in my experiences, I've never had the luxury of walking into a bank and somebody just giving me a business credit card, but I'm going to try it now since you didn't told me. I'm going to block my calendar off next week and walk over to Huntington. It's like right across the street. I'm about to go over there, but they literally log right in. And I didn't even know as an entrepreneur until a while ago that there is a whole separate credit profile. There's a whole separate business credit profile.
Yes.
And you don't even necessarily know. And so if you don't have good personal credit, and you can look at your credit report and all right, these are the 5 areas that I've got to improve. And I'm working on getting that stuff off. I'm working on disputing some stuff because, I'm of the philosophy, and I'm going to ask you this, a whole separate thing, but I'm of the philosophy, dispute everything. Dispute everything, because, dispute everything, especially if you see it and you don't remember it, and and all that kind of good stuff, because ultimately the burden then goes on the creditor to prove that, and if not, then it could potentially come off. But you dispute it, work on your credit, and you see where it's at 30 days later, see how it is. So that might take you a few months. On the business side, have you utilized the Net 30 account process? that people recommend all the time. You know, get a Quill account, get a Crown Awards account, or whatever it is. And because I know for me that's difficult. I don't buy supplies like that anymore.
No,
And so
I think that worked during that era. Our world in finance is completely different now, and things are very fast. I think if we're not open to change our thinking, then we're going to keep doing what worked in the past, and it won't work now.
So how does someone establish a credit footprint as a business owner?
I still would suggest being compliant and go apply. Don't wreck it. Just apply 3 places. I don't have a suggestion. I just went out there. I'm still learning it myself right now because it's something changes. But I would go to the bank that you're at, because you definitely need a business account after you have everything set up.
Right.
And I think go to them and see what they say. If they say yes, they say no. But here's the thing: you could have your own bank tell you no, and another bank tell you yes.
Absolutely.
So do not be discouraged. Try 3 places, whatever. Even if I had a situation where this one guy, he got $1,000 and he didn't want to take it because he felt it was beneath him. I said, well, just go ahead and get it and keep it. 30 days later, they increased it to 36,000, something like that. That big of a increase in 30 days. So again, a little card can get increased. So don't be discouraged by that. The fact that you even got the card, it's in a business name, use it and show worthy, and then they'll raise the price, raise the increase.
And even, are you recommending that people do that even if they require the personal guarantee kind of on it? They're using.
I still would.
Yes. So it's still going to show. So on your personal credit report, those still show up, even if it's in your business name.
So what happens when you apply for business credit, they're going to pull the personal, because you have nothing on the business side to even prove that you're worthy enough financially to pay it back. So they're going to pull the personal. You'll have an inquiry there, but no, it's going to post under the business. Here's the other thing that's nice. If you max a business credit card out, it doesn't impact anything. If you max a personal credit card out, it's going to hurt your credit. So there is a difference, but you just get a pull. The account does not end up on there.
Okay. All right.
It never be on there. If this on there, they need to talk to somebody, because they are separately as far as how they report it.
Okay. So they should be reporting it against the tax ID and not necessarily, and it should be reflected on your DMB.
Yes.
And the business credit bureaus, Experian, and is it TransUnion? The 3 DMB, Experian, and TransUnion, right, for business. Okay. All right. So what are some of the factors that you feel influence your business credit score? Is it similar to your personal credit score? Like you just mentioned, utilization doesn't sound like it's a big deal for business credit. So what are the main factors that influence what your business credit score, how it grows, and what it looks like?
I think what the product is. So is it a credit card? Is it a vehicle? That makes a big difference. Is it a line of credit or a loan? Those limits, I think, play a role in how you pay it. On-time payments are huge. People don't understand. Even if you got to take money from somewhere else, pay everything on time. Being late, and they look at it somehow on the business side, they see dates. So when are you paying? Are you paying it before the due date? Are you paying on the due date? Those things play a big factor. So I would definitely make sure, even if you got to do a little sheet to check it off, say, hey, everything got paid, and make sure it gets paid. Even if you got to reuse it, just pay it on time. So
absolutely. And tie that, I would definitely say, because I'm a big proponent of telling my audience to make sure that they've got a financial structure established, because if you are winging it and you are not keeping track. So, I always say, get your business bank account, connect your financial software. And one of the biggest investments that you should be making in your business, if you're serious about wanting to get that capital to really grow, is a bookkeeper, right? And is a true business accountant, not just a regular CPA, but someone who specializes in small business, because they will be more CFO minded than just someone saying, oh, well, I handle personal taxes. And I had a personal tax accountant for a long time, and a business tax accountant. And I realized, no, I need to find one business tax accountant that can do both, because your tax, especially when you have an LLC, your taxes are all combined and together. And I needed someone who could really give me advice based making certain moves, on everything. So, so paying on time is absolutely critical. So, how do you improve your business credit rating? And let's just say you didn't even realize that you had a business credit score. You didn't even realize it. And you established your business, you got it compliant, You set up your business, banking and your financial structure, and you got a credit card, that you thought was a business credit card. They used your personal, so it's showing up there, but you didn't even realize, you don't even know what your score is, right?
Okay.
So how do you encourage people to monitor their business credit? Because I think a big proponent to having good personal credit is the fact that I monitor it and I pay
Right.
attention to it, and I'm not surprised by it, so I'm able to make decisions
Right.
related to it. Because the honest to God truth, sometimes, my personal credit card, I might ultimately be at a higher utilization one month, but
Right.
I'm okay with my credit score dropping that month because I'm not trying to go out and get a car. But I
Right.
do know that in 2 months, I'm going to be going to look for a car. So I pay everything off. You know what I mean? It's like, and then 30 days, you're like, oh, look at that, 830. You're like, woo. Yeah, but we're going on family vacation, so I know it's gonna cost me, 15 grand. So I know that my $20,000 credit card is gonna go up to 15 grand, and I don't care at this point. And so I think being strategic with your business credit is also a key skill. And how can someone really improve their business credit rating? The same way that I just mentioned that I improve my personal credit rating based upon when I need to utilize it. I mean, can you do that? Is there a way to do that?
You can, but it's not as fast as the personal, like you said.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's a little different. An example, I had the unforeseen thing. Two companies that I'm not even aware of, was a heating cooling company and a plumbing company, both had filed bankruptcy in Chapter 7 and had no clue. It just popped up on my business credit. And I'm like, and I went somewhere and I just knew hands down, I'm good. And they said, oh no, the name was different, the state was different. And I'm like, and I tried everything to fix it and I couldn't. So I'm at peace with it. But I tried calling the bureau, nobody would believe me. Different EIN, everything. It's a heating, cooling, like I said, all that. But I went ahead and just started applying. And it's amazing how the floodgates have opened. It's almost like it's not there. It's almost like filing bankruptcy, and the bankruptcy's there on your personal, but as you apply for new stuff, it just diminishes. It's like you don't even see it no more because there's so much good in front of the bad. They don't even look at it no more. So it's still there. I don't even know how to remove it. I don't even know how long it stays, but I'm at peace
So it
with it.
wasn't even yours. It wasn't even your business. Some businesses, were they similar in name or something?
No, one was a plumbing company. The other one's a heating cooling company. Names are totally different in a different state.
And they
And
show
nobody
up
would
on
pick it
your
up.
business credit report?
Yeah.
And so that's a good point to make. I mean, one of the ways of improving it is knowing what's going on with it.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
But I fought it and I even went to people I know and no one could get it off. So I just finally just said, you know what, I'm at peace with it. So I started using my personal credit. I said, let me go back to the business. And I've been able, like I said earlier, apply for credit cards and apply for loans. And I haven't had a problem. I mean, it's almost like no one brings it up. I was like, okay,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, you almost got to be at peace with something and start not focusing on the negative of how do I just build it so I can start doing stuff. Because otherwise you'll get so discouraged, you won't do anything.
Right. So, I mean, I think that some of the key takeaways we've heard so far is to try, right?
Mhm.
First, get compliant, set everything up properly.
Yes.
And I think that's, I sit on a lot of boards and committees, and I'm probably one of those people that sit in those meetings and I'm like, are we talking about capital again? Like, the number one thing that we hear businesses need is access to more capital, access to more capital, access to more capital. And we oftentimes talk about specifically minority businesses and businesses that are led by people of color, because there seems to be more difficulty, right? I mean, and as we know that's the case. I mean, an SBA loan process is totally different for
Right.
someone of color. And I think that has more to do less with the actual color and more with the historical perspective. Like, I always tell people, in my family, I am the first generation in that family that even had the opportunity to become an entrepreneur, because my mom, my direct mom and dad, was born in Jim Crow. I mean, literally, like, I'm talking about the early 1900s. So they first of all, they didn't even think being an entrepreneur was possible, but they weren't even supposed to be drinking from different water fountains. So this whole concept of being able to go out there and do it. So I'm like the first generation that even was born outside of those legal constraints to be
Right.
able to even move forward in this. And I don't have any uncles or aunties or brothers or anybody or mama or daddy who could already have a business, right? that they can give me some money to start. So, you're out there and you're like, okay, I need at least a $20,000 credit card to get this thing started while I'm working on generating my customers and growing my revenue. And I think for me, it was, okay, I don't even know what I can use this credit for. I mean, it goes beyond just a credit card, right? So like right now, I know for me, my vehicles, because I do so much driving from a consulting perspective, will always be in my business name. It just doesn't even make any sense for it to belong to me personally, because I just don't even understand it right there, honestly. And that's a great way. Now, I'm at my very first car that I got on my business. They did require a personal guarantee because it was General Motors specifically, but different companies require different things, but it required the personal guarantee. And I evaluated it at that point. I was like, well, that don't matter because I'm either going to have to get it under my whole personal credit anyway.
Right.
Or I'm going to get it under my business credit, give it my personal guarantee, pay for it, and it will be helping me establish my business credit at the same time. So to me, it was a no-brainer. Now, to get my card, I don't need any kind of personal guarantee at all. It just goes in the business name and it never even shows up anywhere. And it's funny because I was refinancing and the broker was like, "You don't own a car?" And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, I don't see it here. I'm like, don't you worry about that. You focus on what you see. You focus on what you see. You don't need to worry about that. Yeah, I'm not walking. I'm not on the bus. I'm good. I'm like, dude, but I didn't even want to get into it with him because I'm like, you don't even know. You ain't no entrepreneur. You work for somebody else. So that's just where your head is at. But even that business car, right? That's a great way to establish. And I liked that was the very first real establishment of my business credit for my first business, which since has been sold, was my car.
Right.
I didn't have any business credit cards.
Okay.
I was using a personal credit card paid off when I started my business as my for business credit. And then it was paying it off was helping my personal credit, but it wasn't doing anything for my business credit, which I didn't even know existed. And I went and got a car. I was watching maybe somebody on YouTube and I'm like, I can get a car in my business name. And it did require me to do the personal guarantee. But at that point, I was like, what difference does that make? I'm either going to get it completely on my personal or I'm going to have a personal guarantee. So it did show up on my personal because they did both, but it also showed up on my business. And I knew I wasn't going to not pay my car payment because I needed to drive. So that was my business credit score after I think that was when I first learned that I had a business credit score, first of all.
That's the other thing. A lot of us don't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then afterwards I started doing all this investigation and I'm like, let me go in here and see what it is. And after 6 months of paying for my car, my business credit score was maxed out. It was absolutely amazing. And that was when I was like, oh, let me go ahead and get me an American Express. Because you know what I'm saying? That's it. And then I realized, well, I just wanted for the special airport perks. You can get you a little American Express lounge. Give me some travel points. You know what I mean? And I was afraid to use the American Express because the concept in my mind was, oh my God, if I use this, I got to pay it off, next month. But that was also an eye-opening experience for me. So I didn't really know how to improve the business credit rating. I just knew, but I would definitely say, look into getting a vehicle in your business's name. But again, you really have to be still a legit business. But
you also have to make sure that when they run it, they do that, because some dealerships don't even understand business. I think some people don't understand that. So even though you're anxious and excited about the car, make sure they're running it and does, like you said, go under the business name.
Yeah.
But something I was going to say too is even with the American Express card, a lot of people don't know you can have that card and do payments. It doesn't have to be
it's
the whole
true.
balance. A lot of people don't know that. So it's understanding. It still goes back to what we said about understanding the credit. When you get it, how you can use it.
So information is power.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Information is power. And so your business credit rating, I think the number one tip I'm taking away from our conversation around it is you got to know what it is. Right. You got to know what it is. Regularly review it. And I don't know if you've ever do you have any specific resources or tools that you recommend to people so that they can keep track? There's all these Credit Karmas and all these different things you can download and look at on your phone. I've got a couple that I recommend, but do you have any?
I still like Experian, and I'll pay the money to update it. it seems pretty accurate in real time. But I
Mhm.
think also understanding, that's a whole another conversation. But when you go on there and you see that score, that is not a vehicle score. That is not a mortgage score. People don't understand that your scores have categories. You know, there's one for mortgage, there's one for vehicle, there's one for credit cards, and there's another one out there. There's different FICOs. So if you don't understand that, you're mad until you go somewhere and say, well, I looked at it as this, but what did you actually look at before
Mhm.
you go? And I think being credit savvy before you apply for the car and do other stuff. On the business side, I do go to NAV a lot. I don't do that. I know it's good because I pay every stuff on time. I don't absorb myself into that as much as I do on the personal side. I'm constantly looking at the personal.
I'm so glad you brought up NAV because that's my favorite resource and tool, not just to monitor and to see what's going on, but for also education and information. They nav.com, and we're going to go ahead. I'm going to go to this link. You can get to it right below here, and I'm going to make sure that it's in the description box as well for you guys. But nav.com is one of my favorite, and I over the years, in 25 years. I think that I may have tried, at one point I was logging in to everything separately, and that was a pain in the butt. And I was looking for, there was some other company that I think went belly up during the 2008. Yes, 2008, y'all. Yeah. Uh-huh. I know, right? 2008 is almost like 20 years ago at this point or something. But in 2008, when everything went to crap in
Yeah.
the market, I think that whole company went belly up. But I've literally been monitoring and using nav.com
Yes,
since
that's
then. And one of the things I love about nav is that as you enter your financial information and you begin to kind of keep track and you begin to be established, they will go out and pull from all three of the credit sources so you can see them all in one place. And I get like random emails from them for educational stuff, changes, like you said, because everything changes all the time, but also credit card recommendations. Like, this card is a perfect fit. You are 95% match.
right.
This credit card for your business, you're a 95% match, or this loan over here is a 95% match for you. And I do love nav.com. So I'm glad that you said that, because
That's cool. Yep.
that's what I would totally recommend. So you guys make sure that you check out nav.com. And so I know that you really do. So for those entrepreneurs out there who want to establish their business credit, they're working on getting it done. You've heard some of these steps, and one of the biggest things is that no matter how much you try to avoid it, you really will have to um, build and correct and begin to fix and grow your personal credit. Aside from being an entrepreneur, having personal credit is important. And I know that you work very diligently with entrepreneurs on getting that stuff fixed. So tell us a little bit about some tips and tools that you may have for people out there on how to work on their personal credit in order to do a better job and have better access and be able to really utilize the advantages of having business credit.
I think looking at the credit, I would go to Experian.com. I would log in. There's three there. There's Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. I would look and see what's there. Take the time and make a list. Not only the accounts, are they really your accounts? What's there? Also, inquiries, check the inquiries. Do you have some collections on there? Put all that out there so you know. I would also order a check systems report. A lot of people don't know they're in check systems. Check systems isn't always about writing a bad check, but you could have had a bank account that you closed and you left XYZ in there, and maybe that last transaction came through, but there was still a balance that made it negative. They will report it. It will stay there for 5 years, and that will hurt you tremendously, not just in opening a bank account, but also if you want to apply for a loan. A lot of credit unions will use check systems to verify your identity. Get a LexisNexis report, get a Novus report. There's more than 3 bureaus out there. I think getting all of that and gathering it, then you sit into and don't feel overwhelmed. And it's your business between you and your husband or you and your parents, whatever, and just try to sit down and figure it out and get someone to help you sort it out, and then try to go to a credit repair person. But I wouldn't be overwhelmed. I would not pay somebody a crazy amount up front. I would not do that. You want to see the results. Sometimes disputing stuff yourself is very hard. Writing the letters is hard. That could discourage you. But if you just get one bureau clean, you're on the way to success. You really are. Just one bureau. You don't need all 3.
Yeah, I remember going through that process because, college, of course, I didn't have a great financial guidance before. And in college, they tackle you when you're walking down the street. And I was going, they tackle you, right? And I was like going to CVS and buying like toothpaste because I was out on my like credit card. And a $3 thing of toothpaste just because I didn't have any money in the bank ended up paying like $300 for some Crest at one point. Before I even had conceptually the concept of what that is. And I'm so grateful that I went through the process. After I graduated, I was going to live overseas. And so I knew that my living expenses were going to be low. I was going to have a nice income coming in because I was doing contract work. And I was, at that point, I had calculated that like 60% of the money that I was making could stay home. So I got this strategy that I'm going to use this opportunity to really understand what the heck is going on with my credit so that by the time I get back home, my stuff is clean because I need to buy a house.
Right.
If I go back home and live with my parents, I will die. No, that's what I think. I'm telling myself I'm gonna die. And that was when I began really educating myself on how to clean your credit. I was online, like looking for samples of letters and, calling and sending disputes in, and then realizing, oh my God, these stupid credit cards that I had.
Right.
Once I got all the stuff that really wasn't even mine, right? Because I had an aunt that had the same name as me, Cheryl Lynn. And her last name was Cooper, but it was also like her married name was in there. And there was stuff in there, even though we didn't even come close to the same social security number, there was stuff in there that I don't know who it was. There was like 50,000 Cheryl Lynn's in the country, and I don't know whose stuff it was. But after I got that stuff cleaned off, and I tried to call some stuff that was showing collections. I tried to call, make some phone calls, all that kind of good stuff. I realized, okay, your focus while you're gone is to set up your business bank, your bank account on auto pay. You're not going to be using these credit cards because, I was going to be overseas and I wasn't going to need them. And I was able to set up my business on auto pay, leave my credit cards because I think I had like the horrible store cards. I had a store card for everything. I had Learners. I had
Learners.
You remember Learners?
That was a store.
I had Learners, I had Pennies, I had Strausses. You remember Strausses?
Yep. Wasn't there Petrie's?
Petrie's. I had Sears I had the Sears one because when I was away at school and I needed to get my car fixed or my tires or anything like that, I could use it for my car. I had so many store credit cards that were like, I don't even know, a 50,000% interest or something. And that was my game plan, to pay them off before I came back home. And so I looked at them. I was like, this is what I'm going to pay on them. And by the time I come back, and I set it up on auto pay. When I came back, my credit for the first time ever was perfect, well, close to perfect. And I was, became obsessed. Became obsessed with monitoring it ever since that point, and was so educated that I was able to pass that on to my children. So just developing the strategies of knowing, like you said, making those mistakes and saying, if I could do this all over again, this is what I would do.
Yes.
And so now when my kids, they graduate, they get 18, I'm like, this is what we're going to do. All right. This is what we're going to do, because you have to establish some credit, because when you graduate, you're going to need to get an apartment because you can't come back here and you ain't going to be able to do that if you ain't got no credit,
Well, I will say the apartment world is different now. You can have the credit. That don't mean you're gonna move in. You got to pay 3 times the rent.
It totally depends on your state and everything. It really does. I mean, I'm going through the apartment process. I've gone through it, my kids and with my mom recently, and they didn't do the income verification. But in the state of Florida with my dad, it's 100% based off of that. You have to meet a certain income threshold and even to get approved. So I think it's the market.
Yes.
They definitely in Ohio, at least where we were applying for my mom, they did a credit check.
Okay. Well, we did one with Marvin. They want 3 times the income. I was shocked. Like,
oh, wow. Yeah. We're in Ohio?
Niagara Falls. Yeah.
Oh, so they're trying to get on that bandwagon too.
But it's been like that. I know my daughter moved here. It was like that too. So it's been like that like 5 or 6 years. It probably depends on what community you apply.
Yeah. Maybe the apartment complex and the community that you're in, because Florida, every single one.
Wow.
Kind of like a state thing.
Wow.
That you have to meet certain income thresholds, like 3 times or 2 times, or if you're retired or whatever, or you can just like show some kind of proof of income or something like that. Yes. Wow. Yes. Okay, awesome. Well, I would definitely tell people then to monitor it, right? And use nav.com in order to be able to see a snapshot of all of them.
Right.
And they have great resources that will definitely educate you. It's kind of a one-stop shop, and it'll make the recommendations.
Yes.
It'll give you some good ideas of some great business credit cards to get started with.
Yes. It does give you a good breakdown too of understanding what's there. It does.
Yes.
Well,
And so the net 30s, how do you feel about those?
No,
No.
no.
Well, what if you need the net 30s though? Some types of businesses do need the net 30s because they're buying bags, or they're customizing things. Even then, no.
Well, I'll tell you what, there is one company, I take that back. I would recommend them. Marvin and I both just recently did Uline. I was
Yes,
just right there.
Uline.
Uline is good. They do have something if you are into that. I agree 100%. I forgot about Uline. Uline, I would, and they will give you credit, and they definitely report it.
Yes, they definitely report it.
They
And
don't play.
Uline is great, especially if you're a product-based business, because they've got all of those, like the containers and your boxes and your envelopes
Mhm.
and all of your shipping stuff. I've used them when we used to actually physically, before the pandemic, we used to physically ship things to
Mhm.
clients, binders, but you can also get great office supplies. I
Yeah.
need them to sell snacks. That's what I need. I need them to start selling some chips, like some vending machine stuff.
Okay. Oh,
But
wow.
they don't do that. I'm always through the website, like, can I get some chips, please? So I don't have to go to the grocery store, because I don't use my Uline account as much as I used to since the pandemic. We're pretty much, not. But I did just order a new whiteboard from Uline because I'm a whiteboard fanatic. So they've got all that kind of stuff: chairs, office equipment, office
Yeah.
stuff.
And it's usually next day shipping. So it's really good. I forgot about them. So I take that back. So I would recommend them, but all the other places I wouldn't. Because
Yeah.
here's the thing with the credit card, even if you got a small credit card, the cash rewards are so great. It's an extra step, but you're paying cash anyway. Put it on the card, get the rewards, pay it off, and just do it all over again. That's a way of building.
Yeah. You gave me one tip
Okay.
a few months ago, and I want you to share it with the audience because I absolutely loved it. And it was a specific credit union that you recommended. And I want you to talk a little bit about that before we get into how everyone can get in touch with you, because you are a credit repair expert. And that's really how you help entrepreneurs, is not only being able to help advise them navigate kind of that journey towards establishing your business credit and financing their business, but really helping them clean up their personal credit so that they have that leg up and don't have to go through all the rigmarole, right, of trying to avoid. Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs want the business credit, but want to avoid fixing the personal credit in order to get it.
It's
Right? They're
not-
like, my personal credit's bad, so how do I get business credit without personal credit? And I'm always like, you don't. Like, you don't. You
really want,
know.
you want to fix it. Even going back to what you said about buying a house, I'm telling you right now, it is a cakewalk when you're compliant, period. Get the personal fix, it'll flow into your business. The business is good, and you can streamline that. And even buying a house, being self-employed is very simple. I know I just did it. And it was a cakewalk, like a W-2 employee, again, being compliant. It's yeah.
Yes, yes. So what was that tip? I want you to give that kind of a CP
Are you
impact.
talking about Navy Federal Credit Union?
I am.
Yep, Navy Federal Credit Union. If you're you gotta be military though. It could be your mom and dad, it could be your grandparents. I would definitely suggest going there and becoming a member. They seem to be very generous, even when you have flaws. If you have a bankruptcy, if you have collections, they will give you something. I don't know if they do check systems, so that's a whole nother, but that's $5 membership. It's just worth doing it. They do have a business side, but they will make sure you're compliant. So you have to have an hour set aside. They will go to your Secretary of State while you're on the phone, and they'll verify everything with you. And then while you're on there, you got the option to do a loan or credit card. So that's a good credit union. It is. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes, I literally was like, okay, because back in the day, when I established my business bank accounts before the pandemic, obviously you had to go in person and bring all that stuff with you. Bring your official articles of organization certificate, and then the letter from the IRS, and then your addresses had to match, and then all that kind of good stuff. And now they're doing it over the phone.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, good. Because I was like, the closest Federal Credit Union here is downtown, and Lord knows I hate going down there. But I'll go online and actually get it because I do have military, as most of us do. I think
Yes.
at some point or another, a grandfather, somebody.
But there's a lot of brick and mortar down toward the southern states. They have brick and mortar banks, but it's the only bank in the United States. They never close. They're open 365 days a year. A lot of people don't know that. So it's a great bank. Yeah.
Wow, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Where can people find you? And keep in mind, guys, that all of these links for you to reach out to Joanne and just have a conversation with her about her helping you fix your personal credit so that you can get that journey towards good business. All of the links will be down below in the description box. You can always access them. And also, I want her to let you know how you can reach out to her and how you can find her. So where can we find you? Where can they reach out to you and get in touch with you?
They can go to Calendly, and my email is Gilmore, that's GILMOREMONT @yahoo.com. And the password is going to be Gilmore's, GILMORES 1993.
All
And
right.
sign up there and I'll talk to you.
All right, so you guys can see that link right there that you just saw. She's going to reach out to you, and we're going to also make sure it's in the description box below. And make sure that you take some of these tips and tools and utilize them. So we're going to head back over to the studio so that I can give you some of my final thoughts. Thank you so much for being with me today, Joanne, and all of your insight. Business credit is a big topic. So if we get more questions, because I'm sure we're going to get a ton, and people reach out to you, maybe we'll get to schedule kind of a follow-up.
Okay,
And kind of dive a little bit deeper into it as well. But thank you so
You're
much. Is there any final words, final thoughts that you want to leave the audience with?
Being compliant is a blessing.
Yes, yes.
It opens the floodgates to a lot of opportunities, not only for your family, people you want to help. It's just amazing, and I'm glad I did it. And I try to encourage everyone, be compliant. I mean, there's no reason to get mad. It's never too late. Don't ever feel like you're too old or it's too late. You can start today and move forward. Yes.
And along those lines, guys, I want to make sure that you guys know in first quarter of next year, I will be coming out with a Get Your Business Foundation Established mini course that will walk you through all the steps that you need in order to establish your business foundation, including registering your business, establishing your business profiles, establishing your business address, your email, your phone number, getting your tax ID, securing your domain, setting up your online presence with social media. That course is coming out. So if you want to sign up for the wait list for that to be notified as soon as we go live with it, make sure you click that link down below as well. And we will make sure that we get you compliant. If you feel like you've missed some steps or you just aren't sure, we can take care of you. So thanks again, Joanne. We'll talk to you soon, and I'm going to head back over to the studio.
All right. Bye-bye.
C, B, C, B.